It's good. Okay. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ba'd. So we saw that Maryam was allowed to be inside the temple, and she was getting some special types of fruits. And you know, Zakariya was shocked that she's getting these special fruits. So then he gets an idea. He's been sad for a while because he never had a son. And he wanted to have a son because he can train that son to become the next leader, or maybe even become the next prophet for his people, like what happened with Prophet Dawood, and what happened with some other prophets, Prophet Yaqub, for example, and Ishaq, and many other prophets. So the reason why he wanted to have somebody who's a really good leader after him is he knew that among his people there were some really evil, corrupt scholars who pretended to be good. These were rabbis. And outwardly they looked like they're very pious and righteous people, but they were actually evil on the inside. And so they wouldn't follow the things that they would tell other people to do. And that's called hypocrisy. So they would tell other people, hey, you should pray and you should give in charity and you should do all these things. And they didn't care to do any of those things themselves. So Zakariya, he knew that he could have more influence over his son, who's going to end up becoming maybe a leader afterwards, more than just if he's trying to grab other people's, children or young students or whatever it is. So he can have a greater influence over his own family and raise them up to become like a righteous leader. So he and his wife, though, they were already pretty old, and they were not able to have children anymore. So he just gave up, and he said, okay, Allah has decided for me that I'm not going to have any more children, and there's no point of asking. But after he saw that Maryam is getting fruits out of season as a special miracle from Allah, he had an idea. Because he knew that he already knew he's a prophet of Allah. He knows Allah can do anything. But now it gave him an idea, and he got motivated. He said, you know what? Let me ask for a child. If Maryam can get fruits out of season, I'm out of season. My wife is out of season. But maybe we could still have a child somehow. So he began by making dua. And he started his prayer. He started asking Allah. He said, oh Allah, I'm so old. My hair is all gray. But I know that you can do anything. So please bless me with a son. So he made this dua. And we learn from Zakariya how to make dua. You don't just go and you just ask Allah, say, oh Allah, this is what I want, just give it to me. What does he do? He's like, oh Allah, this is my situation. You know my situation. He even describes himself. It's like my bones, it hurts when I walk, gray hair, my body is not there, but I know you're able to do anything. Grant me this thing. So he kept on praying until the angels came, because he's a messenger of Allah. The angels came and they gave him the good news that Allah has answered your prayer and you're going to have a son. So his wife is going to give birth to Yahya. And this was a name that was chosen for him. And this is a name that nobody has had before. So usually what happens is when you live in a society, you usually name people after other righteous people. It's very common. So people, what they'll do is they'll look up common names. What kind of names? What should I name my child? Give me some references. You go and ask your friends, what do you think are some good names? And they'll tell you usually names that they already know. Inventing new names is pretty rare. But this was a brand new name that nobody had ever been named with. The name was Yahya. And so then Zakariya got the news, but he still doesn't understand how this is going to happen. So he asked, he said, how is something like this going to happen? Because my wife is too old to have children. So what kind of question is he asking? He's not asking this doesn't make sense. Why is this going to happen? He asked for this. Now his question is a real, genuine inquiry. How is this going to happen? Because I know I asked for this. We're out of season, but How is it going to happen? And Allah responded to him. He said, I can do anything. Don't worry. I'm going to make it happen. So then Zakariya asked another question. He's asking a bunch of questions now. He got what he wanted, but he wants more details. So Zakariya now asks, he says, well, how will we know that she's pregnant? Because it may not be the normal process or something because of her age and because of my age and everything. So Allah told him, He said, when you're unable to speak to people for 3 days, that's going to be the sign that your son is now on his way. And you're only going to be able to communicate with gestures. So basically what's going to happen, Allah is telling him that something's going to happen to you where you're going to try to speak and you won't be able to speak. You're just going to be, something will happen and you won't be able to talk. So he says, okay, and what's going to happen? You won't be bedridden or you won't be in a coma or something like that. So you don't need to worry, but you just won't be able to talk. But you can communicate with people through gestures. You could be like, no, thank you, or move over there, or whatever it is, but you won't be able to speak. And so that's what Allah told him was going to happen. And that's exactly what happened. So he was not able to speak for 3 days. So what did he do during that time? He focused on praying to Allah. And that was the point. The point was, he, as a way of thanking Allah for granting this dua, he's going to be in a completely isolated state, just praying to Allah, just staying in the masjid. Like, for example, we have this thing called i'tikaf in Ramadan, where you go and you stay and you sleep in the masjid and you just focus on as much prayer and reading Quran and everything as you possibly can. But still, you're allowed to talk to people. This is like a super high level of i'tikaf. You don't talk to anybody. You just focus on remembering Allah. You make zikr, you think about Allah, you pray, you do all of those things. So this is exactly what happened. And he was just focusing for 3 days on just praying to Allah. And this was the sign that he had asked for. So finally, Yahya was born. And so Allah blessed him. And Allah gave him wisdom even when he was young. And so Yahya was a very righteous child, and he was a righteous young man. And he was very good to his parents. One of the descriptions that we have very few descriptions about Yahya in the Quran. One of them is that he was righteous, he was wise, and he was very good and respectful to his parents. So when he grew up and became an adult, Allah chose him and made him a prophet, just like his father, Zakariya. And that's exactly what he wanted. So this is pretty much all we know about Prophet Yahya in the Quran. But sadly, his own followers ended up killing him later on. And he is one of the prophets who was murdered by some of his own people who claim to follow him, even though he's supposed to be their prophet. And so Allah mentions in the Quran that some of the prophets were killed by people who claim to be their own followers. The Prophet Yahya was most likely one of those prophets that were killed. All right, so that ends the story of Prophet Yahya. And right afterwards, there's almost a direct connection. Story of Prophet Isa, Prophet Jesus. So going back, we already talked about Maryam. And so Maryam grew up and she became an adult. And she's not like a little girl anymore. She's an adult now. And she decided she's going to go out of the temple for a while and she's going to seclude herself to a place in the east. So she's in Jerusalem. She's going to go east of Jerusalem somewhere, and she's going to focus just staying over there. And she's going to be able to focus on praying to Allah, no distractions or anything. She's not even going to be in the temple. While she was in that state, alone, an angel came to her again. Now, she's had the angel come to her before, getting fruits and telling her to pray and things like that. So an angel came in the form of a man and said to her, and basically walked in. And so she was shocked. She's like, well, what is this guy doing? So she was very afraid. And she asked Allah for protection. She says, you know what, oh Allah, if this is somebody who's come to harm me, then protect me from this person. So the angel came to convey a message from Allah. And the message was that you are going to give birth to a pure son, to a very righteous and good son. And his name is going to be Isa. So his name is also chosen. So Yahya's name chosen for him. Isa's name chosen for him. And he says, your son is going to be the promised Masih, which means the promised Messiah for the children of Israel. So what is a Messiah, or what is Masih? Messiah means a leader. And so the children of Israel, they were waiting for another leader. They already had a prophet, but they want a leader to kind of give them success. And they're hoping that they were told another prophet's going to come that's going to be leading them and guiding them. So this is going to be the promised Messiah that the children of Israel have been waiting for to come and grant them victory and grant them success. And he says he's going to perform many different miracles. And these miracles are going to be proof that this is the type of prophet that they were waiting for. So Maryam, she hears this. And she's responding. She says, this is not possible because I've never been intimate with any man. How could I possibly have a child? This is no way. See, Zakariya is a different case. He had a wife. So even though they were out of season, at least there's two adults there and they're able to have a child. But she goes, I'm by myself. I don't have any husband. I've never, been with any man. I've never had a boyfriend or anything like that. How could I possibly have a child? And so the angel responded to her and said, this is going to be from Allah. Allah's going to make it happen even though there's not going to be any father. So the angel blew a spirit into her from the will of Allah, and Maryam became pregnant without there being any father. And this was a miraculous pregnancy. So now, this is the situation of Maryam. Now Maryam is very concerned. She is pregnant with a child. She knows what this child is going to be. She knows what this child's name is going to be. She knows what his mission is going to be. But she's afraid that no one's going to believe her story. Because keep in mind, she already knows that there's many rabbis in the temple who are corrupt. Zakariya knew that there are rabbis in the temple who are corrupt. That's why he wanted Yahya. Yahya was killed by some of his own followers. So the situation is not really that great for the Muslims. There's a lot of hypocrites who are pretending to be Muslims, but they're not very good Muslims. They're hypocrites, and they're causing such harm that they ended up killing one of their own prophets. And so Maryam is worried. And she goes, the situation of our ummah, of our community, is not in the best situation right now. So I don't know what's going to happen to me. So this is a very tough mission that Allah is giving her. So she decided to go into seclusion. And she's going to hide her pregnancy until it's time to deliver the child. Does it remind you of some other mother who hid her pregnancy recently that we covered in the story? Prophet Musa's mother also was hiding her pregnancy. So the army of Fir'aun the police of Fir'aun doesn't find out, and then kill the child. So Maryam is doing it now for a different reason. She's trying to hide her pregnancy because people are going to start slandering me and saying bad stuff against me, which is interesting because she was right. That's exactly what happened, but we're going to see that in a moment. So she finally goes and keeps herself away from people, and until it's time to deliver the child. And finally, she's about to deliver the child. The 9 months or whatever have passed, and she goes into labor, and she's in pain. Labor means the baby's about to come out. It's a very painful situation. So when she went into labor, she walked outside just to kind of ease the pain or whatever. And when she walked outside, she sat down next to a palm tree because the pain started getting worse and like the baby's about to be coming out. So she's in pain, number one, physical pain. Pregnancy can be very difficult and very painful. And number two, she's afraid of what people might say about her when they see that she has a baby. So she has mental, psychological stress. So she has physical pain and she has psychological stress. So she's in a difficult situation now. And it became so bad. She was so concerned. Now keep in mind, this is This is probably one of or the most righteous woman that has ever lived in the history of the world. Very pious woman. But when she was tested with the same pain, she made a comment, and this comment has been mentioned in the Quran. It got so tough on her that she told herself, she says, I wish I was dead, and I wish I was forgotten, as if I never existed and nobody ever knew me. That's a situation that she was in, and in the moment, that's what she said. Meaning that sometimes we have these thoughts. Even the most righteous of people have these passing thoughts. There's a difference between passing thoughts and you just get stuck in that state for a very long time. Passing thoughts are passing thoughts. You say them, you think them, and just let them move on. So she even had those passing thoughts as well. And so Allah revealed to her to comfort her. He said that there's a stream of water nearby. So she can go and drink that water. So Allah set it up for her. You got some water to drink. And then she was next to the palm tree. So Allah said, you can shake this palm tree and the dates will fall down and you can eat these dates to give you the strength that you need. Now, normally if you shake a palm tree, the dates are not going to fall down. Especially if you're a pregnant woman and you're in labor. You're not going to be able to shake. Even if you're a tough guy and you kick a palm tree, the dates are not going to fall down, right? It just doesn't happen that way. So this is partially a miracle, and partially she has to put in a little bit of effort by moving it and going and getting some water. But this is interestingly, this is exactly what many people do now. Medical research shows in a hospital, they say, well, among the best things you could do when you're going into labor and you're about to deliver a child is to have a little bit of water and is to have some dates, because the amount of energy and the fructose or whatever the natural sugar that's in a date actually gives you the energy that you need without eating too much, because you don't want to be eating so much when you're delivering a child. So it's interesting that hospitals in America, even in other countries, they recommend exactly these two things: water, and they say dates, like a date or something like that will give you the energy that you need. It's exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her. So she had that. She had the comforting message from Allah. She had the energy to deliver this child. And so she delivered this child. And we don't know, maybe there were some other people with her, helping her or something like that. And so after that, she stayed on a small hill for a little while. Allah mentions this in the Quran. And then Allah told her, now it's time for you to go back to the city. And when you go and you meet your people, you're going to let them know that you have made a vow that you're not going to speak to anybody. So just like Zakariya, he wasn't able to speak to anyone. This was a form of i'tikaf that was practiced at the time, where you seclude yourself and you say, I'm just in a state of remembering Allah, but there was also no talking at all. So you don't talk either, you just say, I'm just focusing on praising Allah at this time. So she was told, when she goes back, people are going to start saying something. She was very worried. People are going to question me. What happened? Where did this child come from? Did you get married? If you didn't get married, how did this happen? So Allah told her, your job is to stay quiet. Don't say anything, and just let them know that you have taken a vow. You're not going to be speaking to anybody. So you're just going to avoid this situation completely, and Allah's going to handle the rest. So Maryam finally comes back to Jerusalem, and she's carrying her baby son, Isa. And so when the people saw her, they accused her of fornication. They said, you know what? You have a baby and you're not married? Astaghfirullah, this is so horrible. What kind of person are you? And then they started making worse statements about her. They say, you're from the family of Prophet Harun. You have disgraced the entire family of Harun. And they kept on insulting her and saying the meanest things. Now you can imagine, you might have been insulted by some people, or you've heard some really bad, nasty things that have been said about others. Imagine these type of people, and they're insulting her, and she's in this situation, and she has to just simply deal with it. And Allah even told her to keep quiet. She's not even supposed to talk. Just let them say what they're saying. But then Allah told her a way to get out of this. So they were insulting her. So Maryam said, I'm not able to talk. Well, she didn't say that. She gestured that she's not able to talk. But instead, she pointed at the child. And they were like asking him questions, asking her questions. So she's basically pointing at the child and said, you know what? You can talk to him. They're like, talk to a baby? So they started laughing at her. Said, you're crazy. You know, a baby. We're supposed to talk to the baby. You're not gonna talk to us. We're supposed to talk to this child, like this little infant baby. And right at that moment, this is one of the two interpretations of the verses in the Quran. But one of them is that Prophet Isa, as a baby, he began to speak. And he said, I am a servant of Allah. Allah has given me the book. He's going to give me a book. And He's going to make me a prophet. And Allah has blessed me. And so you can imagine, if this was the first miracle of Prophet Isa, they're just in shock. They said, this child is speaking and defending his mother, and she's not saying anything. We were just saying horrible things about him. So now they're in shock. And they're like, this child is speaking. This is a miracle of a prophet who's performing a miracle while he's still an infant, while he's still a baby. So some of these people, they're still skeptical. They're shocked. They don't know what to say. But what did they do whenever they saw any miracle of the past prophets? So many miracles we've seen. Miracle of Prophet Musa, miracle of Prophet Saleh, miracle of all the other prophets. What was their same excuse? Oh, this is just magic, just something's going on, some type of magic trick being played or something like that. But at least they left her alone. So this kind of gave her a little bit of leeway so she can just go back to her normal life. And she comes back, and obviously, Zakariya is there, other people are there, and they're accepting her as being a righteous woman, and they're accepting this child as gonna be the next prophet that is coming, because that's exactly what was told to her by the angel. So now Isa grows up. And we don't have much details about how he, grew up and what he happened, but he grows up and he's an adult now. And he was chosen by Allah to be a prophet. And so he was learning. So he learned the Torah, because he was also in the temple there. He learned the Torah, he learned the Zabur, and also from direct revelation from Allah. And then Allah revealed another book to him. And this book is called the Injil. Injil, or known as the Gospel. And so he has another book now, and he's going and telling the followers of the Bani Israel, the Israelites. He's teaching them and telling them that, look, Allah has sent me. I am another prophet now. I have brought you another book, and this book that I bring you, it has some different rules than you had in the Torah and than you had in the Zabur. Because some of the rules in the Torah, they're very strict. They're very strict in terms of like the type of food that you can eat and not eat. They're very strict about what happens if your garment gets dirty and you need to clean it off or something like that. There's like extremely strict rules about the Sabbath, things like that. You can't work, you can't do anything like that. So all of those things, he says, some of the rules that Allah has sent me with, He sent me to ease some of those rules because those were only for a temporary period of time. Those were like as a punishment for what the children of Israel had done during the time of Prophet Musa. Because how were they, if you remember Prophet Musa's time? They annoyed him so much. They gave him so many problems. Some of the rules were very strict as a punishment for them to fix themselves because of how bad they were to their own prophet. So he goes, now that time is over, and now Allah wants to ease a few of the rules for you. Keep most of them, but a few of them, they're going to be a little bit different. So what did the people respond with? They're like, no, we don't accept you. A lot of people said, we don't accept you. So even though he brings a bunch of miracles, he's primarily speaking to his own people. He's in a similar situation that Prophet Musa was in. Prophet Musa, after the Exodus, after he crossed the sea and he was with his people were constantly causing him problems. Prophet Isa was in exactly the same position. So even though Prophet Isa was performing many miracles by the will of Allah, people were still giving him problems. His own followers were giving him a problem. So some of the miracles Prophet Isa performed. One time, he sculpted a bird out of clay. So he took some clay and he formed it in the shape of a bird. And then he just blew on it. He breathed into it, and the bird became alive and flew away. And so this was one of his miracles to show that, hey, this is the power that Allah has. Allah can give life to something that has no life. Now, this has happened before. Prophet Saleh, the people asked him for a miracle. They said, we want to see a camel, a living camel come out of this rock. Inanimate object, a living thing comes out of it. So a miracle was performed prior to that as well. Similar, like the staff turning into a snake of Prophet Musa. It's a stick, has no life, turned into a living thing, right? So similar to that, Prophet Isa, he blew onto this clay, turned into a bird and became alive. This was a miracle to show them that, hey, look, I'm a real prophet. I'm trying to show you Allah has sent me with this sign. Another time, there was a man who was blind. He touched this man, and all of a sudden, this person could see again. So a second miracle he performed. Another time, there was a man with leprosy. He was a leper. A leper is a type of skin disease, a very serious skin disease. So he touched this man, and this man was restored to health. So he became healthy again. So 3 miracles performed now. There was another man who was dead. And Isa, by the will of Allah, he touched the man, and the man became alive again for a period of time, and then eventually died again. So 4 miracles, but somebody else came back to life even after death. And then there was a 5th miracle that he had, is that somehow he was able to inform people of the type of food that they would store up in their homes. So in their homes, they would have food stored up in their underground storage compartments or whatever it is. And without ever visiting their home, he could tell them, this is the type of food you have stored up in your home. So these were the 5 main that are mentioned in the Quran. And despite all of these miracles that he showed his people, the Bani Israel, the children of Israel, they still disbelieved him. And they said, no, you're just a magician. And they said all these weird, this is strange. So this is weird because they believed in Prophet Musa. They believed in Prophet Harun. They believe in Dawood. They believe in Sulaiman. They believe in Zakariya. They believe in Yahya, even though some of them killed him. Still claim to believe in him, but they rejected Prophet Isa. They're all from the same lineage. They're all from the Israelites. They're all coming with the same message. So they accepted all these other prophets, but they rejected Prophet Isa. And this is where the problem began and the split began between people who followed Prophet Isa and the Israelites who rejected Prophet Isa. And they say, no, we stick to only the Torah, we refuse you and we refuse your book. And that's where this Judaism and Christianity, originally, the real split, actually began. So we'll stop here and we'll continue next week, inshallah. Are there any questions? Otherwise, I will ask the questions. Yes? Yeah, so Prophet Yahya was still alive when Prophet Isa was born. So we don't know exactly how long he lived, until what period of time, but yes, they were alive at the same time.
Did Prophet Zakariya die from natural causes, or was he killed as well?
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. Any other questions? Okay, I'll ask the question then. Who visited Maryam when she secluded herself in the east? An angel. Good. All right. Why was Isa's birth a miracle? Because he was born without a father. Good. What motivated Zakariya to ask Allah for a son? There's only 3 people who were paying attention. Yes, good. Yes, exactly. When Maryam got the fruits that were out of season. Why was Zakariya not able to speak for 3 days? Kareem. Test you, man. Okay, but what was the purpose behind it? Like, what did that indicate?
It was to so that Allah could bless Prophet Isa to speak to so that the people would believe her
Prophet Isa?
for the as a child.
But we're talking about Zakariya. Why was
Was
Zakariya not able to speak for 3 days?
Um,
Anyone else? Yes.
It was like in order for payment where he would pray to us for talents and thanks for his son. Also like a sign his son was on the way.
A sign that his son was on the way, and then he was praying to Allah. Very good. And easy question. What was the name of Zakariya's son? Yes. Yahya, very good. And what was Yahya like? What were some things we know about him? His description. What? Go ahead.
He was very pious.
He was very pious and
He had a lot of knowledge.
he had a lot of knowledge. Good. He was knowledgeable and wisdom. And one more thing. He was what? I mean, he was a prophet, but one more description about him. Like how he was like.
He was killed by his own honor.
Yeah, but that's information about it, but about his personality, his character. Very important thing. The parents should know this. He was good to his parents. He was very good to his parents. I know parents are always looking for something to remind their kids with some. This is one of them. All right, inshallah, we'll leave it at that. We'll see you next week. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.